Now we're going to start to focus on getting paid. So we're going to look at hourly jobs. And so I have this particular website, and you're going to have access to that on an assignment. And it has a list of 15 different jobs that are high-paying hourly jobs. When you open that website, what you are going to see is that list. Here, for example, is the very first one in that list, and it just provides some basic information about that job, the title, a little bit of info, some general stuff. There is a link so you could go in there and read more about some particular skills that are related to this type of job. But what we're going to really focus on right now is this average salary. And so it's going to give you a dollar per hour wage for each one of these 15 jobs that you're going to look at. And so now what we want to do is determine how much you get paid for the whole year. All right. A lot of people that are paid by the hour are paid on a bi-weekly basis. What does that mean? It means you get a check every other week. And so if you're getting a check every other week, that means you're getting 26 checks every year. If you are a full-time employee, it is likely that you're going to be working 40 hours a week. And so as I go through to determine how much do I get paid for the year, I'm going to figure out how much do I make on each check. Well, how do I do that? It's how many hours did I work. And so if I'm bi-weekly, it's how many hours did I work in 2 weeks times how much do I get paid per hour. All right. And then now, if I'm going to take that piece of information, and you'll notice I'm going to use that number right here to determine how much I make per year, it's going to be how many paychecks do I actually get times how much do I get paid on each paycheck. So now let's look at an example. Okay, and so now I'm going to say that I'm paid on a bi-weekly basis. That means I'm getting 26 checks every year. So I'm working 40 hours a week. So if I'm getting paid bi-weekly, that means I'm getting paid every 2 weeks. So I'm going to be working 80 hours in that 2 weeks. 40 times 2 is 80. And my wage is $12.50 per hour. So now what I want to do first is figure out how much do I get paid each check. So my bi-weekly earnings is 80, which is how many hours I work in 2 weeks, times my $12.50 per hour. So how much do I get paid for that 2 weeks? Good, that's $1,000 that I get paid in that 2 weeks. And so now what I need to do is use this number right here to determine how much I get paid per year. So I get 26 checks per year. There it is. $1,000 every check. There it is. So I'm going to multiply 26 times 1,000 to determine how much I make in a year. And so my annual earnings are what? Correct, $26,000. Perfect, nice job. But now what if I get paid every week instead of every other week? And so if I'm paid on a weekly basis, that means I'm getting 52 checks every year. Now obviously each check is going to be a little bit less, but I get more checks. And so I'm going to use that same information. I'm still working the full-time job, 40 hours a week. I'm still getting $12.50 per hour. So what we want to do is look and see what happens with my annual pay. Again, I need to figure out how much per paycheck. I'm getting paid every week, so I want to look at my weekly earnings, 40 hours per week times my $12.50 per hour. So how much do I get paid every week? Correct, $500. Again, I am going to use this number right here to determine my annual earnings. How much do I make for the whole year? I get 52 checks per year. There's that. $500 on each check. There's that. So how much do I earn each year? The same $26,000, which should have been the case, right? So it didn't matter whether I determined that amount on a bi-weekly basis or a weekly basis. I got the same answer either way. Okay? And so now we want to just make note of what did we just do to make that happen. Okay? we're determining how regularly the worker gets paid. I showed you a bi-weekly example and a weekly example with the same information, and we saw that it didn't matter which way I got paid. I got the same amount of money. I earned the same amount in my 1 year. Okay? So I'm going to use either bi-weekly, which is 26 checks a year, or weekly, which is 52 checks every year. If I'm a full-time employee, and we're going to focus on being full-time employees, I'm getting 40 hours per week. And so to determine how much we get on each paycheck, we're going to use the number of hours worked for that paycheck times what's my hourly wage. Okay, so if I'm using weekly, that's going to be 40 hours for each paycheck, right? If I'm going bi-weekly, well, that's every 2 weeks, so that's going to be 80 hours right there. And again, I'm going to take that answer to determine my annual earnings, and I'm going to multiply that answer by the number of paychecks. So if I've figured out the weekly paycheck, I'm going to multiply by 52. If I determine the bi-weekly paycheck, I'm going to multiply it by 26. All right, so there is what you're going to do. And actually, when you do this assignment, here is the work that I need to have you show me as you complete the piece about determining how much do you make for the whole year. Okay? And so that assignment is going to be the 17 hourly jobs, regular annual pay. You're going to determine the annual earnings for each of the 15 jobs that are listed. Again, I showed you that first job on the list, the administrative assistant. You are going to show that work. But what I just showed to you just a moment ago, the examples that I showed you in terms of determining the annual earnings, that's the work that you're going to show me for each one of those 15. You're going to include the screenshot from for each job. Make sure I see the title and the average salary. And so this is what it's going to look like. That's what you saw on that example that I showed you. It's right underneath. There's what your screenshot is going to look like for each of those 15 jobs. There is the title of the job. There's the salary. Okay? And I believe that you're going to do a great job on this. All right, get to it.